Committeewoman from California and CEO of Center for American Liberty, Harmeet Dhillon.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Thanks for having me here today. And it's a real honor to get a chance to talk to you today. I want to first say that I want to give a shout out to Chris, your chair. He's really one of the best in the business, and I hope I'm not offending the other chairs here, my friends in the RNC. But to put on a forum like this is such a treat. In California, we just had a state party convention, and we had to pay a significant amount of money to be able to hear some of these candidates. And so I came here and I got a chance to hear from some of the candidates that I hadn't heard from before. And I, like a lot of you, have felt very stressed out about what's happening in our country. And I have to say that after hearing, with differences of opinion, what these candidates have to say, it really gives me some comfort that no matter which of them wins the primary, I will feel confident getting behind them and working to elect them. And I think that's important for all of us to remember. So when Chris invited me here today to talk, and my colleagues, I immediately said yes. I started my political career at age 16 here in New Hampshire. I was a freshman at Dartmouth College. And I came to campus from the South in rural North Carolina, where everyone called everybody else sir and ma'am, and boys held the door open for the girls. And, my door slammed in my face when I was moving into my dorm, and I wrote a letter to the editor of the paper and talked about how the Yankees had no manners. And the newspaper editors invited me to join and write. And that was the beginning of my political career, which led to, in 1988, driving Jack Kemp for president, and Jack Kemp himself picking him up at the airport, driving him to our event. I was president of Dartmouth Students for Jack Kemp. And so I got the bug then, getting involved in campaigns, and I'm proud that my law firm is actively involved in not only one of the presidential campaigns, but also many state and congressional and local campaigns around the country. And so, thank you. Well, I did start my career as a journalist, but I didn't like having to pretend being objective. Today we know that, of course, journalists don't have to do that anymore, but back in the day, so that kind of led me into the career of law. And so for the last 30 years, my law profession, my day job, has been as a lawyer. And since I had my own law firm almost 17 years ago, a significant part of my law practice has been as a civil rights attorney for the causes of conservatives. And that's what I want to talk to you most about here today. So it's great to elect amazing candidates. It's important. It's necessary, however, but not sufficient to ensure our liberty, because no matter how good the laws are, no matter the fact that we have an amazing United States Constitution that our founders designed as a near-perfect machine for liberty, the fact is we have leaders, including our current president, and including governors around the country, including federal judges, who routinely ignore the Constitution. We saw that in sharp relief during COVID. I filed more lawsuits than any other lawyer in the United States to challenge restrictions by governors on our liberties. And you read in the press today, it's become fashionable to read that, this is a Republican judge, or that's a Trump judge, or that's a Clinton judge, or what have you. I don't really like that, because the judges take an oath to uphold the Constitution. They're not meant to be political, and they're meant to leave their politics at the door. However, if you are interested in the objectivity, I think it's fair to say that Republican, Democrat, Reagan, Obama, they all ruled against liberty in those first 6 months after COVID. They all ruled that the government had the right to take away your freedoms, that using the magic word emergency was an excuse to ignore the Constitution. And the cases that they cited for this proposition date back to some of the darkest periods of our time in civil rights. Jacobson versus Massachusetts is a case involving smallpox, where the government said that because there was an epidemic, the rights of people to avoid what goes into their body were suspended. Well, believe it or not, even though we've now had 100+ years of jurisprudence after that, the courts use these old precedents to lock us down, deny children of our civil rights, deny us of our business rights, and generally repress us. And to this day, I think a lot of the ills that we're facing in our country, including, of course, one of the issues I'll talk about in a moment, they date back to the fact that we were forced into our homes. Children were forced out of socializing normally. People became desperate. People became reliant on the government. People became reliant on social media, and people mistook tweeting for activism. Okay, so one message I want to give here is that writing about things online is not activism. It is not getting out the vote. It is not knocking on doors. It's not doing the work my friend Scott Pressler does to register voters and really organize, because that is how we change what I'm about to talk about. So in our country right now, we are in an epidemic of child abuse, really. And the child abuse is being done by teachers and by physicians and by our government and by the media, convincing children that gender is a social construct, that it's okay to talk about sex at the age of 5. It's okay to teach them about practices that are, let's call them idiosyncratic at these young ages. And it is okay to keep things from your parents. And, you know, I don't have time to go into all of my theories about this, but we've all seen, when I was at Dartmouth, we had Marxist professors, okay? The first time I'd encountered any in the wild. My parents brought me here from India to get away from socialism and planned government and telling you how many children you could have. They didn't like that, so they came here to America for freedom. And then I had these professors who were telling me about liberation theology and all of that. Well, they were Marxist. It was quaint. I went out into the real world and I got a job, and I didn't have to really experience a lot of Marxism. But children today are really under the influence of a form of cultural Marxism, which is seeking to destroy the American family. The American family, the family, is the most fundamental unit of government, okay? And telling children to keep things from their parents is a way of remaking the family, destroying the family, and rebuilding our society in the form of how the government wants it to be. And so at the Center for American Liberty, we're fighting some key cases. One is the case next door of Sean McBrarity suing Maine School District RSU 22. Sean was basically hauled off and banned permanently for life from speaking at his child's school district meetings because he was objecting to the obscene curricula being foisted on his children. And we filed a federal civil rights lawsuit, and the judge said, no, I think the way that the school board treated Sean was appropriate. It was neutral on its face, when in fact Sean's the only person we can point to who's ever been banned for life for the crime of speaking up for his children. So that case is on appeal in the First Circuit Federal Court of Appeals, and we're not going to stop fighting that until the courts get it right. In California, we have filed multiple lawsuits on behalf of parental rights. One of the most recent is Chino Valley Unified School District case. So after we won a case recently called Jessica Conan's case, and you've seen that on Fox News if you watch Fox News, you've seen the case of Jessica Conan, whose daughter was groomed as a 12-year-old and told that she was gay and that she was then bisexual and then trans, okay? All told to hide that from her mom. The people in the school district did not tell her mom that she was going by a different name, and then they sprung it on the mom. The mom then later learned this was all part of an organized plan by teachers to identify students they wanted to treat this way. Well, we won a $100,000 settlement for Jessica Conan, and her daughter is still her daughter, thank God. But here's what the government does. When we won that victory and publicized what's going on in California schools, we convinced a lot of parents to run for school board. Yay, win. Those parents won. They got into office, they began changing policies. They began changing policies and saying that there is a mandatory disclosure obligation of the schools to the parents when children are identifying differently. And the response to that politically, I'm going to wrap up here, is that Our Attorney General has sued the school district for informing parents what's going on in the schools. And if you think this is limited to California, think again. California is the utopian petri dish of weird stuff happening in our country. It's going to come to yours if you do not fight this. So get people elected to the school districts. In conclusion, I want to say that no matter who you're supporting for president or races on down the line, we're in primary season. At the end of the day, we're all part of the same team. And I ran for chair of the Republican National Committee. Your chair, Chris, supported me for that. That was amazing. And so I fell short, and I shook Ron's hand, and I said, let's work together to elect Republicans. And that's really the spirit that I urge all of you, that no matter how fiercely we throw arrows and slings and call names to our opponents in the primary, people are trying to destroy your families and your way of life and your ability to control what goes into your body, and that's what's at stake in this upcoming election. So thank you very much.